Hi, I'm Tina Miller, author of the book But God. Today I asked my friend Kirk Page to join us to talk about But God number 5. I know you're really going to enjoy all that he has to share. God bless.
Hi, my name is Kirk Page, and I'm here to talk to you about Tina Miller's book, But God. It's a devotional book that goes through the Old Testament, and actually anywhere that it says, but God did this or that, it references that and goes through it. Really unique book, and I've enjoyed reading it. Let me go through a few of the But Gods up to 5, which is what I'm talking about. So the first one, it's But God protects, and then number 2 is He remembers us and His promises. Number 3, He cares and intervenes when we make bad decisions, and number 4, communicates and articulates clearly, and number 5, But God listens and responds. So let me move to number 5 here, and I'll read to you the verse that covers. Genesis 19:29, and she quotes here the New Living Translation, and it says, But God had listened to Abraham's request and kept Lot safe, removing him from the disaster that engulfed the cities on the plain. And so, when I read this verse here, it reminded me of the story of God listening to me. And it was a time in my life where I was just really going through a lot of struggles within my company, and around 2009 when the market had crashed and the business was really horrible, my wife and I took a trip to Kauai that we were able to do, and we were sitting on the beach, and there was a bunch of clouds in the sky. And there was one little hole in the clouds of blue sky. And I told my wife, Deena, I said, this is what my life's like right now. This is how I feel. And we were there about 5 days into our trip, and I hadn't even been able to enjoy it. I was so engulfed and frustrated. And I said, my life looks like these clouds, and there's that one little spot in the cloud there where it's like a ray of hope. And my wife said, yeah, but watch what God's going to do. He's going to break up those clouds for you. And as the clouds were moving towards us, they started to break up. And there was a little hole that became a heart in the cloud of the blue sky. And my wife, Deena, she said, look, God's telling you He loves you. And by the time the clouds got to us, they completely broke up. It was blue sky with just a few scattered clouds. And it was a reminder for me that as I was speaking my frustration about life and where it was at, that God listens to us. And He was telling me, but I'll respond to you, and I'll take care of these clouds and break it up, and there'll be blue skies. And that really touched me. And so it's important that when we are speaking to God, to remember that He cares for us and listens. And so I like in Tina's notes in her But God number 4, God talks about communication. And here in 5, he's talking about the counterpart, listening, Tina says. And I don't think that's a coincidence. I think that communication is also not only speaking to God, but listening. And so let's talk about that. Another story I have for you is a recent trip that I took to Balboa this year in 2014 with my wife. And it was a beautiful trip. The weather was great, and we were getting away for the weekend while our kids were at winter camp. And I told her on the way down, I said, the Balboa Bay Beach Club is right on the bay there, and there's lots of yachts parked there. And I bet we're going to meet somebody, and they're going to take us out on their yacht. And I was kind of joking with her, kind of a little dream. Well, we only stayed one night, and the next morning we were out eating breakfast on the bay. They had a restaurant, and we were outdoors there, and we were eating and playing some cards. And there was a guy I noticed walking by, and he had a black and white striped shirt with a little red bandana tied around his waist off the side, a little red scarf, and I'm like, this is a little weird of an outfit, what's this? Maybe he works on one of the yachts. And he kept walking by, and I noticed him, and I thought, well, he's probably waiting for one of the yacht owners. And so when we got to get up, he yelled out, he said, hey, would you like to go on a free gondola ride? And I was like, hey, hun, what do you think? And she's like, sure. And I'm like, hey, what do you need, a tip? And he's like, no, if you want, great. If not, that's okay. And so, we were on the gondola ride, and God reminded me, remember what you said? And you wanted to go on a yacht. Well, this isn't a yacht, but it is your ride that I'm providing for you. And I started laughing inside, remembering, and then I reminded my wife, Deena, hey, remember what I said? This is our yacht ride. And then he started singing, the guy started singing to us. It was just a great time. So God does listen to us, even when we're not really talking to Him, but we're just making our requests known, and He hears. And I'm also in Teena's book. She shares to us about her sunglasses and reminds us to listen to God first. She had lost her sunglasses and looked everywhere else, but God had told her where they were. And after half an hour of looking, she found them exactly where God had told her. And so it's important for us to not think of the natural or the logical things first, but when God speaks to us, whether it's speaking to our heart or just a thought we have in our head that's not necessarily us, that we listen to Him and do what He says first. So I have a question for you. Do you listen when God speaks to you? Are you so busy in today's life that you don't stop and really take the time to listen? And He's never yelling at you, hey, Kirk, hey, whatever your name is, I'm here, let me tell you about... He never does that. He's always speaking quietly. And so it's important for us to remember, to stop and listen to what God says. And so I also wanted to note here that, God listens and responds to those He loves. When you look at Abraham's life, Abraham was righteous. And God speaks to the righteous. And those who hear His voice will follow what He says. So if you're like Abraham, that it's quoting in the verse in Genesis 29, God listens to you because you've listened and followed His voice. You do what He asks of you. And so it's important to remember that. In Jeremiah 29:11, it says, for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, the plans for welfare and not for calamity, to give you a future and a hope. Then you will call upon me, in verse 12, and come and pray to me, and I will listen to you. You will seek me and find me when you search for me with all your heart. Are you searching for God so that He'll listen to you? Matthew 17:5 says, while He was still speaking, and that's Jesus, while Jesus was still speaking, a bright cloud overshadowed them. And behold, a voice out of the cloud said, whose voice is that? That's His Father. This is my beloved Son, with whom I am well pleased. Listen to Him. And so today I just want to encourage you, as you read Tina's book, to listen to Him through the devotional. See what He's speaking to you through but God, and let it absorb into you.